I had decided to give this a couple days before I had opinions on this whole Google Stadia thing. And I tried to watch as minimal videos as possible just to not taint my opinion about it and just kind of really give it my own thoughts. And I came across a couple things that I think are interesting in comparison to gaming now versus streaming gaming. And I wanted to cover that. So a couple things. Biggest one that I thought at first was really stupid was the name was Stadia. And now that I hear it a few more times, it seems fine. But initially, when I saw it and didn't hear it and didn't know how to pronounce it, I saw that as an issue right away. If you have a product that's supposed to be really great in the new thing, I think having questionable pronunciation is an issue. But we're past that now. We know what it's called. It's fine. Supposedly all the trials they've done with beta testers are good. There was some issues with like Doom Eternal being laggy, and that brings into the biggest question is, laggy is going to be laggy. We'll get more to that in a second. Another part is the controller, the pricing, stuff like that. And we saw the controller. It's basically very much like not a 360, like an Xbox One controller, just with a couple extra special buttons on it. It's from my opinion, that's what it looks like. And then going into pricing, which I think is the biggest thing that people want to hear that is not there yet. And I had put a tweet about this, about what I think a pricing model would be for the Stadia. And I don't know if people didn't quite get what I meant, or maybe they just think it was stupid. But I think to saturate and get this product into the market, Google is going to have to kind of give this thing away. And what I mean is not a completely free system, but I think something where they want to get this in people's hands. I mean, streaming gaming as a whole has, like something in my eye, streaming gaming as a whole has a real shadow above it. With stuff like, the OnLive and the Ouya and Flare and other systems like that just completely just crashed and burned. People aren't really, the whole streaming gaming just, like I said, big dark cloud over it. People don't want to do it. I think if anybody can do it, it would be Google. And the two reasons are, one, pricing. I think that if they really kind of centered on the different resolutions it can do, 60K at 1080, 60K at 4K. They mentioned 8K, which is crazy to even think about streaming 8K. And again, streaming is another part, and we'll get into that again in a second. But I think for base level high def, so not full high def, regular high def, 720p, I feel like if they were to literally make that a free tier, and I think I really feel like they're going to go on a tiered pricing model here, again because they focused on the different resolutions. So I feel like if they went to a base level 720p is free to use. You still gotta buy the games for it. You still have to, buy the games virtually in a store or whatever. Have them in your account. I think 720 is a good starting point to kind of get people in there. They're watching YouTube, So think of it this way. So they really focused on, you're watching a game on YouTube and now you want to play it, and you hit the play button and you grab your controller and you can play it. Think about how that would be to really get somebody in there. I already have a game controller. I already have keyboard, mouse. I see people playing. I hit play. I get to play a game demo absolutely free at 720p. And then if I like it and I want a little more, I could buy the game. That's an option. Or I could buy the game. Hey, I like the game a lot, but you know what? I have a nice 1080p TV or a 4K TV. I want to play it at full resolution, full HD, full 1080p. Okay, well, if you want 1080p, it's $14.99 a month. I forgot what pricing I said online, but $14.99 a month, and you get 1080p streaming, and maybe you get access to a couple of free games, kind of like Xbox Gold, or the PlayStation Plus. And then if you want 4K streaming, we do 4K streaming. It's going to be, I don't know, $19.99, $24.99, something like that, and you get 4K streaming, just because they can allocate, different, server loads to what they're pushing out to the end users. I think that model would be really something, and kind of sprinkle in some free games with each tier, kind of incentivize people. But that whole base level of no investment except the fact that you're watching a game and you can play it, I think that would be incredible. I think that would really get the ball rolling for them. No upfront cost for the person, especially playing demos. That would really get something in there for people. I think that's something that would really work. Now, speaking of bandwidth and the whole lag issue, now, I think the biggest issue is of course the lag, and they said that they have, and I think a lot of people kind of skipped over this. It was kind of a quick thing in that demo. They had 7,500 edge nodes, and I'm going to get a little technical here because I don't know if any people fully grasp what that means. So, when you had a service like OnLive, something like that, you're connecting to OnLive, so you're going to your internet service provider, your ISP, that interconnects to an upper level provider that then connects to possibly another level provider, which then connects down all the way to OnLive. I don't think OnLive had edge nodes. If I do, I'm wrong, and I'm sorry. I don't think they did, though. Now, Google having edge nodes, now what that means is they have servers and services as close to you, the end user, as possible. And what that means is, instead of you connecting through your ISP to an upper level, so let me put that in perspective. So say you have Comcast, Verizon, Cox, Time Warner, whatever you have. Those companies connect to a next tier of connectivity, which usually is like something like level 3, XO, Verizon, something like that. And that provider then passes, that's the backbone. It goes over that provider to the ISP of whoever hosts the game, and you connect down. So all those steps. Now, Now, Google having edge nodes means that they could, especially 7,500 edge nodes, means they could literally have connectivity right to your ISP. A link. So instead of you going over the internet through other providers, it would be something where, you being a Comcast or Cox or Verizon subscriber, your connectivity to Google is literally one next hop out of their network. It's connecting directly from your ISP right to Google over some kind of high bandwidth, 10 gig link, something really up there. And that's what they really mean by edge nodes. That's what's out there, something like that. So that's that connectivity. I feel like a lot of people might not understand that, but again, with having that kind of connectivity, they can do it. Google can probably do it, and that's something pretty crazy there. And it could really lead to something with really low lag. The controller being Wi-Fi Direct Connect, that's another big deal as well. No box, nothing sitting at your house. Of course, you're at the mercy of your own home internet connectivity, but that's a whole different story. And the idea of edge nodes is not new. If you watch Netflix, they do a similar thing where Netflix has servers all around the country where they directly connect to providers. That's something they do, and I think that's why Netflix is such a superior service versus other, maybe lower streaming services. Now, the last part of this I want to get into is kind of how Google works and how games work with connectivity and not connectivity, licensing. And I unfortunately see that once a Google loses license to a game, where's that going to go? I mean, if you bought it, are you going to definitely guarantee that they have a back catalog that whoever bought the game has access to and can play again, and just new players can't get it? Or once that game is gone, is it going to be gone? That's something that they really got to make sure that they're covering, because you have games like, Scott Pilgrim, the beat 'em up they had there, the Simpsons game. I don't know if the X-Men game is still like that, where you could play it for a while on PS3, and then it's gone. You can't get it anymore. Those are really good games that you just can't get. And also with services ending, how does that work into Google's model of, if they're kind of like sick of a service, or it's not quite working out for them, they just axe it. It's gone. You have services like Google Allo, Wave, soon to be Google Plus. Google Talk, which likely it became Hangouts, but even Hangouts is supposedly gonna go away or change and become something else soon. Google doesn't always keep this stuff around. So if they decide to axe the program, where does that leave the people who invested in it? The consumers that bought games on its platform. Is this going to be something perpetual where, they're guaranteeing this one's not going away? Or if there's not enough money there, are they going to just slowly transition it and it's gone? That's a big deal. And that leads me into my last point, which is kind of not so much with gaming, but with Google in general. I think it's becoming a little scary how everything is becoming. Google's pushing cloud-based everything. You have Office Suite online in Google Docs. You have Chromebooks that pretty much, they need connectivity to Google to work. They work a little on their own, but they need that connectivity out to Google. And Google pushes that even into schools. And, Gmail, it needs to be connected to Google to work. That Gmail is huge. Tons of companies and consumers use Gmail. And even if Google gets into like the cars, like self-driving cars that need that backbone, they need Google Maps. So even if other providers that use Google Maps and they use that API to interface their cars to it, Google's making themselves into an entity that, as long as they're self-sustaining, they're good. But if they, for some reason, went on a downturn and they started reaching out and said, we're too big to fail, you can't let us fail because our infrastructure runs the planet. You need all of us, all of our services to run your stuff. Where's that going to go? So, all right, I don't want to get too far into tinfoil hat territory, but it's a point that I think maybe isn't brought up as much as it should be. All right, well, let me know your thoughts on Stadia. I didn't mean to go too long-winded on this one. I wanted to get a couple points across, with this kind of thing. As always, if you like the video, like it. If you're new, subscribe. If you don't want to, it's okay. I'll see you next time.